So we'll get going. So welcome today, everyone, to the Cashflow Planning in Difficult Times. We actually did this as a workshop approximately about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it just seems quite relevant now to be doing this as a webinar, given everything that's going on, and given that this is obviously going to be a trying time for a lot of people. I'll just start off. Daniel, can you go to the next slide for me? Great. So. Most of you have probably met me, Shannon Smith. I'm the Director of Smart Business Solutions. I'm happy to be not presenting today, so I'm going to pass you on to my 2 presenters, but I'll be your moderator, so I will look for any webinar questions that come up during today. So if you do have any questions, please do put those through. If you can just go to the next slide, Daniel. If you're not familiar with Zoom, there is you have the chat. You have the chat box. You can raise some questions. The Q&A there. You can raise the chat. I will get the messages coming through on the chat. But if you have any questions, just put the questions in, and I'll probably save most of the questions to the end, and we can raise those for you. Okay. Right. Today's presenters. So I've got presenting today, we've got Paul Cunningham. Paul's an associate with Smart Business Solutions. He joined us just over 3 years ago after working for a sitting firm for about 8 years, originally from Mornington. So he's basically come back home to Mornington. He is a chartered accountant, and he has a slight obsession with cricket, and he is president of the Murdoch Cricket Club and has been actively involved there. Paul has a specialisation in a lot of the trades businesses, but also a lot of wineries, breweries and distilleries around the peninsula. I think as a firm, we probably have more wineries, breweries and distilleries than any other firm around on those areas. Also presenting, and Daniel will be kicking off for us today. Daniel's also an associate at Smart Business Solutions. He joined us a few years ago after running his own practice for a number of years. He's also a chartered accountant, absolutely loves German Shepherds, and has his dog Jess. So in his spare time, likes to spend time playing golf and anything fast on 2 wheels. Daniel has a specialisation also in the trades, but he has a lot of clients in the medical and allied health services industry as well, a lot of specialists and medical practices as well. So I'd like to hand you over to Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Look, I'll just start off. I'm sorry if you have any noise coming through. That we're all working from home at the moment, and the next door neighbour has just decided to get the leave blower out. So we'll see how we go. Welcome to everybody today. As Shannon said, my name's Daniel. I'm an associate at Smart Business Solutions. I'll quickly run through the agenda for today. So in today's session, we're going to be looking at the growth equation, which will help us demonstrate the impact on profit and cash flow of some what-if scenarios given everything that's been happening of late. We're going to cover strategies for increasing sales outcomes, as well as strategies associated with lowering the cost of your sales to reduce the amount of cash flowing out of your business. We'll look at where the cash goes and how you can better manage this, as well as profit drivers, KPIs, and finally we'll answer any questions that you have at the end. So I guess this is quite relevant now, given everything that has occurred over the last couple of weeks. But if you haven't already, it's likely time to have a look at how a tough economy could affect you and the impact that it might have on your business. So let's consider what might happen as a result of tougher economic times. Customers may need to reprioritize where they're spending their money. So you may notice that customer numbers drop. You might start to receive fewer inquiries or leads as customers tighten their belts. And it may become more difficult to make sales because customers are going to insist now much more than in the past. They'll need to see how the value of the product or service that you're selling significantly outweighs the price to them. Customers might also start making fewer purchases from you, and when they do, they may spend less each time as they opt for cheaper lines and economy there. You might also feel pressure to reduce your prices to attract new customers and entice existing customers to keep coming back. Competition will increase, so you may feel that. Suppliers will also be feeling the effects. And the outcome there is that as your costs go up, their costs go up. So they may increase their prices. Then you have to deal with rising interest rates. Fuel costs have gone down recently, so that's a good thing. Wage costs, we'll see what happens there. So look, it is a scary thought, and it's something that we need to plan for, and economic downturns do happen. And so we need to acknowledge them and understand what the impacts might be on your business. Okay, so the growth equation. For those of you who have attended one of our 7 ways to grow seminars, you may have seen this tool before. However, we'll be using this slightly differently today. Usually we'll use this to show how incremental increases in some of your sales statistics will impact your business. But given the current climate, we're going to hopefully just make you aware of how we can use this tool to show how a decline in some of the statistics will affect your business. So I'm just going to Alt tab to another screen. Okay, so this is our growth equation tool. And what, as I said, what we want to do is we want to consider how an economic downturn could affect your bottom line. And so the key takeaway here is to understand how incremental changes in sales activity can lead to significant impacts on business profitability. So what I'm going to do, so I'll give you a quick run through of the tool and as it currently sits, and then I'm going to go through a scenario where we're going to adjust a number of these statistics and then have a look at what the impact is on the bottom line of the business. So we'll take this. We're going to say that it's a boutique service business and they have 5,000 existing clients. Each year they typically receive 500 leads and they have a conversion rate of 80%. Sorry, I should have just mentioned above. So with the existing clientele, we're going to assume that their clients are happy most of the time, and so they have a retention rate of 90%. So total customers per year, we've currently got 4,900. They typically transact 6 times per year at an average transaction value of $100. When we multiply all that out, we end up with total annual turnover or sales of 2.94 million. For this example, we're going to assume that our cost of sales is 60%. Our overhead expenses are $800,000. And so our current net profit is $376,000. So let's get into it and make some changes. Perhaps the number of customers that we have drops. So let's say that our retention rate drops from 90 to 85%. I'll just make that change in the growth equation now. As you can see, the effect of this is that our net profit drops from 376,000 to 316,000. So we're talking incremental change there, but as you can see, we've already got quite a significant decrease in the profitability of the business. What would happen if the number of leads or inquiries we also get drops? So let's assume that there are 250 working days per year. And instead of getting 2 inquiries a day, we're now only getting 1. So we're going to halve our number of new leads. Our profits now dropped to 268,000. So it's also become harder to convert inquiries to a sale. There's more competition, there's more price competition. Let's say that our conversion rate drops from 80 to 75%. So our profit has now dropped to 265,000. So what does this mean? So the economic downturn has meant that we've lost some of our existing customers and we're getting fewer inquiries or leads. In addition, we're converting less of these into actual sales. So far we're down 111,000 on our previous profit. So let's add some additional scenarios in. So now that customers are tightening their belts through the downturn, they're going to buy less, we assume. Maybe instead of transacting 6 times per year, this drops to 5. Let's make that change in the growth equation. That's only one transaction less per customer, and our profit is now down to 87.5 from 376 initially. So what we need to think about is what can we do to encourage customers to keep buying, or even increase the number of times they do. Further, when customers do buy, let's assume that they spend less. So instead of spending $100 per transaction, they're now buying cheaper lines or stretching the use of products, and they're spending $90 per transaction. We're now in a loss position, $1,250 loss. And just to throw in a little bonus, let's say that our suppliers are feeling the pinch and they've needed to increase their sales price to us, so our COGS increases by 2% to 62%. So the outcome here is that through various incremental changes, we've gone from a profit of $376,000 to a loss of $41,188. As I was saying, so the key takeaway, so what I'm trying to say is what you need to focus on is what you can do in your business. What levers can you pull to insulate your business now and prepare for what might unfold over the coming months? Because I think at this stage, it's likely that there will be at least a short period of a recession. And so this, if it's not already a reality, could be likely to eventuate in the near future. So I'm going to jump back into this slide deck now. Okay, so next, what I'd like to do is have a look at what we can do to increase our sales outcomes. So let's first look at ways to increase customer retention. So obviously it's much easier and cheaper to sell to an existing customer. So it's important to keep, delighting your customers and encourage them to come back. The first way that you can do this is always to under-promise and over-deliver. You don't want to make promises that you can't keep. If anything, and especially the way that I view this, we always err on the side of caution and hope to pleasantly surprise customers when we deliver beyond their expectations. I know for myself, there's nothing that irks me more when somebody promises the world and then doesn't deliver. So that's something that I'm particularly cognizant of when I'm dealing with clients as well. Getting to know your customers will naturally increase their loyalty to your business. As accountants, we aim to be the trusted advisor to all of our clients. So I guess by default, we try and take that position. Introducing loyalty programs to reward customers for coming back or recommending you to others is also a great tool that you can use. And stand by the product or service that you offer. I'm a big fan of guarantees. It gives me comfort when I'm making a purchase, and you need to ensure that, if and when things do go wrong, they're fixed as soon as possible to limit the damage and keep that relationship as healthy as possible. Checking in with your customers is also another great way to, build that relationship and find out what their needs are, to confirm if their needs are being met or see if there's anything else that you can do to increase their experience. Inviting customers to invitation-only events such as new product nights or service releases will help as well. And communicating with your customers via their preferred method. Engaging them via social media is becoming more and more important. So it's essential to tailor your messages to reflect your target audience. So whilst it's easiest to retain existing customers, it's also important to entice new customers to your business. So how do we increase our leads? First, ensure that you have a strong online presence. Most people these days, they find new products and services on the internet. So you need to make sure that you're easy to find. You can use Google My Business to increase your visibility in Google searches, maximize your SEO, and ensure that your website is modern. I know personally, it doesn't matter what I'm buying, whether it's a tennis racket, a car, engaging a new service provider, my starting point is always online. And I love to go on and read the reviews so I can get a really objective opinion. So it's important that you do what you can to cultivate that so that when clients are searching for you, they can find you and they like what they see. Implementing a referral program to reward customers for referring new clients to you is also great. This could be a cash reward, a discount off a future purchase, or a small gift. When we have clients coming into the office for meetings with us for the first time, new clients, My favorite meeting is always when it's coming via a referral channel, because you've already gotten past that credibility point, and so it's just a much nicer meeting. So I think that's really important. It's something that, if you're not already doing, if you have clients that are pleased with the service that you're providing, you could always ask them if they wouldn't mind referring their people within their network. In addition, you can attend networking events and form relationships with other business owners who offer complementary products and services. You can host webinars, online events, education marketing tools, such as today, we love to do, and they're a great way to connect with our audience and generate leads. Carrying well-designed business cards and utilizing LinkedIn is also great. You never know where you're going to bump into someone who you can help. And when you help others, generally they'll help you in return. In addition to that, you can always consider sponsoring a local sports team. You could pay for their uniform in exchange for the logo on the back. All of this helps, and it all adds to increasing leads for your business, getting your brand out there and increasing the exposure. So now, hopefully, that we've got more leads, the next step is to turn the leads into customers. My view is that a customer should receive the same awesome experience no matter which salesperson they deal with. So whether they come in and meet with Paul, Shannon, or myself, we try and systemize the process so that anybody can effectively provide that same great service. So to that end, what you need to do, you need to train the team to ensure that they can follow the process, and everybody in sales should be able to clearly differentiate your product or service from your competitors. You need to understand what it is about your service or product that is unique and makes it a better choice. And you need to ensure that your team is aware of your competitors' offerings and how they compare to your own. You need to make it as easy as possible for people to buy from you. So consider removing barriers to the sale. One way to do this, for example, could be offering the best payment methods and payment terms for target customers. Could you sign up for a shop now, pay later system such as Afterpay? Think about your target market and their payment preference. Using testimonials and case studies from other customers to reinforce the value of your product or service is also a great tool. You can offer a free trial, a money-back guarantee. Consider online shopping with home delivery or free click and collect, and allow customers to book appointments online. It's becoming more and more common, especially with us these days as well. Okay, so making more money per transaction. Now, we want to make sure that the customers are spending as much money as possible with us, also while not coming across as a price pusher and therefore only selling what is of value to the customer. So the most obvious way to make more money per transaction is to increase your prices. And so it's a reality that the prices increase due to increased costs and inflation. What we try and do, we try and limit how often we do this, and we're very careful with how we articulate those changes to clients. And so it's something that you need to be mindful of. But, as I said, increasing prices is a reality these days. Discounting can be a good way to get customers through the doors, but it ultimately leads to a lower transaction value. So where possible, you want to try and limit discounts and only discount end-of-line products or those that may become obsolete in the near future. We're going to be discussing some of the dangers of discounting in a following slide, so we'll jump back onto that shortly. Bundling products or services together is another great way to increase transaction value, and something that I'm actually quite a fan and advocate of. Packaging things together that complement each other can quite often lead to a greater outcome for the clients, and they receive more value. So, for example, if we can provide a coaching service to a client, in addition to management reports, we can actually sit with them and go through the reports and understand their thoughts and our thoughts on how to achieve certain objectives. So that's something that I'm always looking out for, and if it benefits a client, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend. So you should consider that yourself. Upselling, my first job was at McDonald's, so this was drilled into me since I was 14 years old. Would you like fries with that? But another thing that you consider. And remember to sell features and benefits of the product or service and relate it back to how it will solve a problem for the customer. Okay, so not only can you increase your sales activities to achieve a better outcome from a profit point of view, but you also want to reduce the amount of cash flowing out of your bank account. So that will, cash flow is cash in and cash out. So if we can limit the cash out, then our cash flow position is going to be better. So there's a few things that you can do here. One way to do it is to lower your cost of sales. Ensure you're taking full advantage of any early payment discounts offered by your suppliers. If you buy in bulk from a supplier, it's probably worthwhile asking about a volume discount. Or if you've been their customer for a long time, discuss a loyalty discount. As we mentioned on a previous slide, it's much easier to retain, I guess, sell to an existing client than it is to sell to a new client or obtain a new client. So I'm sure suppliers would be interested in keeping your business. Try to buy only what you need to ensure your stock doesn't become obsolete. You can do this, you can minimize freight, make bigger purchase orders less frequently, but you do need to be strategic. You can also, I guess, regularly review your list of suppliers and see if there's a better price elsewhere. So I guess insurance policies would be a good example here, where their business is built around acquiring new customers, so that new customers will typically get a better rate than existing. One of the easiest ways to lift your margin is to reduce rework and wastage. This can be caused for a variety of reasons. It could be caused by team members needing more training or updated processes within the business, or maybe your team just needs a gentle reminder about the cost of rework to the business and wastage to focus on reducing it. This is something that we do see quite a bit, and something that we spend quite a bit of time working on with clients. So especially clients in the services industry. So whether they're electricians, trades, even professional services such as, I guess, ourselves, accountants and other HR businesses. When rectification work is required on a job, it really does add to the cost of the job. And so there's nothing that will blow out a budget quicker than having to go back and fix something that has not been done correctly the first time. So that's why, I guess, if to use ourselves as an example again, we have such strict processes to follow in the preparation of our work papers and accounts, and it's all aimed at reducing that. Okay, so I said I'd circle back to the dangers of discounting. So whilst it can be tempting to offer discounts to increase sales when they've been dropping, you can actually often be more profitable by holding your price and accepting a reduction in volume. This example shows the difference in gross profit if you discount your selling price by 10% compared to holding the price at $100 and accepting a 10% reduction in volume. So let's say, for this example, you've been selling 10,000 units at $100 each with a cost of $60 per unit. The gross profit off the bat is $400,000. So now we've been faced with either a reduction, so we're either going to discount or accept a reduction in volume. So if you discount by 10% and still sell 10,000 units, but now at 90, your sales revenue will be $900,000 with a cost of $60 per unit, so the same as before. So the gross profit would drop to $300,000. The alternative here is that you accept the drop in sales, selling. I apologise, everyone. Okay. So the alternative is that you accept the reduction in volume. So you sell 9,000 units at 100. So your sales revenue is still 900,000. However, you only have to pay for those 9,000 units. So your gross profit will be 360,000. It's still lower than before, but better than it would have been if you discounted the product by 10%. Okay, the working capital cycle. The link between profit and cash is timing, and this is known as the working capital cycle. And the working capital cycle focuses on 4 key elements. We have cash, receivables, payables, and inventory. For a service provider, so there are some differences. Guys, I'm really sorry. We're working from home, and I think someone's delivering a package. For a service provider, you sell your services and invoice the customer. the value sits on your accounts receivable ledger until the customer pays you. Many service providers don't actually measure their WIP, but it doesn't mean that they don't have them. So an example, obviously an accountant, we have WIP, but it's recognized when we bill. It takes time to complete a job before it can be invoiced. And so unless you're invoicing on acceptance, you're going to have WIP. Lastly, before I hand over to Paul, I just want to touch on the cash conversion cycle. The cash conversion cycle is a metric that expresses the time, measured in days, it takes for a business to convert inputs into cash flows from sales. It looks at the period of time from when cash leaves the business to when it returns. Let's take a look at an example. This is the wholesaler. The wholesaler buys stock from suppliers and, on average, must pay the suppliers 45 days after buying the stock. The stock doesn't sell the moment it comes into the warehouse. Some stock sells quickly, other stock takes longer, and eventually some stock may need to be discounted to clear. When stock is sold, credit terms are provided to customers, but the number of customers are not observing credit terms. On average, let's assume it takes 60 days for customers to pay. So now we can calculate the cash conversion cycle. 60 days average stock holding, plus 60 days to get paid by the customer, so receivables outstanding, less 45 days credit provided by suppliers. So our cash conversion cycle is 75 days from when cash leaves our pocket to when it comes back. I'm now going to pass you over to Paul, who's going to take you through where the cash goes. And once again, I do apologise for the background noise. Things are a little bit interesting working from home. We're still getting used to that. So I'll hand you over to Paul now. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Daniel. Great job, particularly considering the background noise there. Just waiting for Daniel to take over controls for me. And hopefully allow me to be seen by video, Daniel, if you can do that.
Yes. How's that, Paul?
There I am. Everyone can see me now, and hopefully they can hear me as well. So I'll switch through. And hopefully I'll get through this before my 1-year-old wakes up and we have a similar problem to what we had with Daniel's dog. So I want to talk to you about where is the cash. So often we mistake that the theory of getting profit, and that automatically means we're going to have more cash, which is actually not always the case. So I'm going to show you an example here with our where's the cash gone calculator that shows that even though we're making a profit, doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be increasing our cash at the end of the year. So if I'll just jump out of the PowerPoint slide just very quickly, and hopefully can we all see that, or probably not because we're still viewing Daniel's screen, sorry. Hopefully we can all see the Excel spreadsheet there in front of the screen. Somebody let me know if we're not. So just in this example here, we've got the original column there with annual sales of $1 million, COGS of $500,000, and expenses basically showing a net profit of $150,000. So reasonable profit showing there. Over the course of the year, though, we've increased our accounts receivable has increased $30,000. So which means we've got some money into income. We've increased the sales figure here, but it's sitting in debtors. It's not actually received as cash. We've also increased our inventory or our work in progress, which has meant that we've spent more money, but actually haven't sold that product just yet. We've also had an increase in accounts payable. And on top of that, we've withdrawn $50,000 of our own funds to fund our life, the life of the business owners. We've purchased a used car for $30,000 and we've paid back principal repayments of $10,000 against a business loan. And what we can see there is that the net cash flow there is $21,250. So we've actually, despite the fact that we have made a reasonable profit of $150,000, we've actually got $21,000 less than what we did have at the start of the year. So it's really important to know how these drivers can affect your cash flow, irrespective of making a profit. So I'm going to run through a couple more examples now. So we're going to increase our annual sales to 1.1 million. We're going to keep our COGS the same. So we improved our profit margin. So we added an extra employee to help us get more sales, some marketing person or something. And we have $40,000 of overhead. So we've got an increase in profit of $50,000 to $200,000. In this example, we're going to say that our debtors have increased by $50,000 from compared to last year, and we've also had a similar increase in inventory. Our accounts payable has remained the same, $10,000. Our drawings, because we've seen the profit figure and we think we're doing really well, we're going to say, well, let's go take an overseas holiday to reward ourselves. We're going to, instead of purchasing the used car, we're going to purchase a new car, again, to reward ourselves on how well we've done on the profit. And our loan principal repayments are going to remain the same. So comparing the first two examples, we've increased our profit $50,000, but we've actually got even less cash now. We've got $75,000 less cash than we had at the start of the year. So even though we've increased our profits, so it just shows the real importance of looking at the other factors that affected cash flow outside of just the profit. So we'll do again another option here. We'll keep the same option 2, keep the same profit figures. But in this case, instead of increasing accounts receivable, we're only going to increase it by 10,000 over the year. So we're going to, even though with increased sales, we're going to get our debtors under control. Our stock, we're going to increase by 10,000 to accommodate the new, the extra sales, but we're going to keep monitoring that. We're actually going to talk to our suppliers in our accounts payable so that we can maybe potentially extend credit terms. I know, as Daniel had discussed, that maybe you can, if you've been a long-term customer, they may be willing to extend some terms to you. So we'll increase that to $20,000. Because we've got longer to pay now. We're still going to maintain our drawings because we all deserve a holiday. So let's chuck that in there. And we're still going to purchase the new car, but this time we're going to finance it. So we're going to get money coming in to finance it, but that's obviously going to increase our principal repayments of the loan. So what we can see there is that for the same profit figure, 200,000 and 200,000, but we've now got a net cash flow increase of 60,000 for the year. So we've got 60 grand more in hand, even after paying ourselves a little bit extra than we had at the start of the year. And it's actually a turnaround of $135,000 compared to the $75,000 in cash we lost. And so that's a big difference when considering that we're talking about the same profit figure. So really important to understand these drivers in accounts receivable and inventory, etc., to make sure that we understand how that affects our cash flow, because cash flow, after all, is the lifeblood of small business to keep you going, particularly in these difficult times. Obviously, this is an example demonstrated with increasing profit. Similar examples there if you're decreasing sales and decreasing profit, but you need to be able to still monitor your cash flow and monitor your debtors to make sure your cash flow is as good as it can be. I'm just going to jump back into the slides now. And this is the Business 101 cycle. So this is what we refer to here as this is the cycle of how we input money into the business and then get money out. So the owners on that top left circle, part of the circle, invest in the business generally by putting their own money into the business and their own time. They might also get some loans to finance the purchase of the assets that are in the top right-hand corner there. These assets are then used to generate income, whether that be plant and equipment, property, stock, whatever assets you need in your particular business. Those assets then generate a profit from that. So in order to keep profit in check, so profit drains there in the bottom right-hand corner, unchecked overhead expenses. I know a lot of the first things that business owners do at times when they're struggling is to check the overhead expenses, and that's obviously always a good thing to do. We're going to look at sales growth. In this climate, in the current economy, it might be more of a managing the decline in sales. So can we maintain maybe 50% of our normal sales rather than dropping to 20% of sales, and how do we do that? But it's important in doing that, and I think this is just following on from what Daniel discussed, is to look at the margin growth or decrease and how that affects it. So maybe so it's all well and good to maintain sales at a certain level, but make sure your margins are being maintained as well. And it's important to understand the relationship between the margin and sales, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a future slide. Then when we move on from profit, that profit hopefully generates into cash. Obviously, as we've seen from the last slide, that doesn't always necessarily mean that a profit is going to directly result in increased cash. So we need to look at our debtors, we need to look at our stock and how we're treating those. So we need to collect our debtors on time. We need to increase, we need to look at whether we need to increase our stock, et cetera, and things like that. So cash flow management, really important to create a debtors process if you don't have one, or review your current one. I think now is a really good time to review your debtors process, review the way you interact with your customers, and in particular new clients as well. Maybe, you know, depending on your business, maybe you had 7-day terms, 14-day terms. Maybe in the current climate, that's no longer appropriate. Maybe particularly with new clients, it might be that you want money up front before you start work, or you want 50-50. 50 at the start, 50% completion. Just given the times at the moment, might be a really good time to review that and consider what you need to keep your business going and to protect yourself. Ensure when you're speaking with your customers, both existing and new, that they know your payment expectations. So this can be done. So we do it when we send out a proposal before we start work. We get our clients to sign a proposal, which clearly outlines the amount that they're going to have to pay, whether that be on a monthly subscription basis, or 50-50 or 100% upfront. They'll know that, and other businesses can do that via quotes, etc. Really important, and contracts. Really important that your payment expectations are known by the customers, and also as part of your debtors process, understand what your payment expectations should be. Do I need to bill 50% upfront in order to cover some costs, or am I going to? Because if I'm doing a big project, am I going to get into cash flow troubles just by taking a big project that I'm not billing until the end, or until a progress payment is due? So really important to understand that and make those expectations clear for your clients. Qualify customers before offering credit. So obviously with any new clients and new customers, if you're offering credit, particularly if you're offering a significant amount of credit, then it might be wise to do some qualifications. So ask for some references of their current suppliers to see if they're good payers, to see if they pay on time, and things like that can be a really useful tool to make sure that they are people who are going to pay when they say they will pay. Create a stock control system. Really important to manage your stock levels. It's really easy. I know we all want to have stock on hand because, if it's there, we can sell it, and if we can't sell it if it's not there. But if you're not monitoring it, and it goes to the next point in point 5, monitoring your sales trends and how you're going, you can end up with a lot of stock sitting in a warehouse or in your shop. And if it can't be sold, then it's just the cash that's gone into purchasing that stock can't be utilised to continue to run your business. So it's really important now more than ever to monitor the stock control, to make sure you're monitoring your sales trends. What do I need more stock of? What do I need less of? Just to make sure that we don't overstock, which can obviously increase in holding costs if we need to buy more storage space, but also just having the cash purchased and just sitting there and not being able to turn that over in a reasonable time, going back to the cash conversion cycle that Daniel talked about. Determine a monthly drawings amount. So I think it's really important, now more than ever, that clients, that business owners determine how much money they're going to need from their business to continue to be comfortable, and make sure that's at a set amount each month or each fortnight or whatever, that they take that out and that they factor that into their own forecasting and budgeting. As we discussed before, also, if you need to purchase an asset, it may be a good time to look at financing rather than purchasing with cash. Obviously, there's interest expense in relation to that, but obviously interest rates are quite low at the moment. So maybe the increase in cash flow from financing rather than purchasing cash might be the better option at this time, depending on your current situation. Accounts payable management. Have a purchasing system. So who in your team, if you have a large team, who in your team is allowed to make purchases and make decisions around that? And that can be in determining your stock levels, but also just office supplies and smaller items. Maybe it's time to look at that, and maybe it was a little bit when things were going really well and we were really confident with everything. Maybe we got a little bit loose with our purchasing systems. Maybe it's time to rein that in, just to monitor and just be careful where we can. Extended credit terms where possible. Obviously, I think a lot of businesses are in the same boat at the moment with having issues, potentially with drops in sales and everything with going on in the economy. I think but it's worthwhile asking if you've got a regular supplier, and particularly if you are having issues with your own cash flow and paying, that you look to extend your credit terms if you can, negotiate arrangements to, often a customer, often a supplier will still want you to be purchasing from them, so they may be happy to extend credit terms, on a mutual agreement to make sure that you keep buying from them, and continue that relationship. I think it's really important to communicate and negotiate if you are having problems. Ring your suppliers, talk to them about it. This is what's going on. This is when I can pay, and then stick to that if at all possible. A good example at the moment is the ATO have already come out and said that they're going to be quite lenient in processing payment plans for their clients for any ATO tax debt. But again, we have to be out in the front foot and contacting and communicating them. Otherwise they won't know, and they still may apply interest, etc. So really important to communicate and negotiate as best as possible, and just be open with your suppliers to maintain that good relationship. Break-even analysis. So traditionally a break-even analysis, we consider the break-even point where sales equals your total cost, so that your profit is nil. What we like to recommend to our clients is to consider their own profit figure, their own drawings that they're going to require to take from the business in order to live comfortably. And then that's the sales figure that we want to aim for as a break-even point, if you like. So I'm just going to jump out again to our break-even calculator. So we're going to assume that we've got a profit margin of 60% there. Let's assume that we've got overheads of 300,000. And that means a break-even point of $500,000. But we also want to take out, as owners, we want drawings, whether they call it wages or drawings, we'll just call it wages here. We want to include $50,000 there. So our break-even point for the year, we know that now very quickly and easily, excuse me, that our break-even point is 583,000 or 48,600 per month in this example. So just a couple of things to mention is to, obviously, and we talked about before, looking at overheads. Obviously, if you decrease your overheads, that's going to reduce the break-even point, which is fantastic. But other things to look at, let's try take 3, sorry about that. Is also looking at the margin. So if you increase your profit margin there, then that can, just by 2%, we can see that the break-even point is, $20,000 less. Similarly, in times right now where we're facing difficulties with our sales and our profit margins, the more that we can limit the decrease in sales, the decrease in profit margins rather, the less we have to get, less sales that we have to get to reach our break-even point. So it's really important to be monitoring your sales, your overheads, and also your profit margin there, to make sure that you're in as much control of your cash flow as you can be. Budgets and forecasts. So really important, I think, for all businesses at all times, even in good times, to have a budget in place. This, should do at least an annual budget once a year, but then also be monitoring that periodically and updating where required. So I think for most people now, an update probably is required from the last month or two with everything going on. So hopefully everyone's having a look at their budgets and updating and understanding what that's going to do to the factoring going forward. Whether that's monthly that you're updating and reviewing your budgets, or potentially even weekly, depending on your situation. Really important in budgets to understand the difference between the profit and the cash, and that's where, when we prepare forecasts for clients, we do what we call 3-way cash flow forecasting. So we look at the effect of budgeting for not only your profit and loss and your cash flow, but also the effect on your balance sheet, so that we can understand the full picture. So that's something that we can absolutely help you with. If you're doing work on your own in terms of your own budget, make sure you're looking at both the profit and loss and also your cash flow, and understand that, yes, you've got to get sales, but you've got to get the debtors in. And so look at the whole picture there to understand your cash flow moving forward. Profit drivers and KPIs. So this fits in nicely with, I think, with Daniel, with the growth equation that Daniel spoke about earlier, to how do you grow your business, or how do you maintain your business in these times? What are the KPIs, the key drivers, whether it's leads from your website, conversion of those leads by your sales team. Look at what are the profit drivers of your business, what drives profit, and create KPIs and performance targets around that. Those performance targets should be communicated well with your team and be linked to performance measures and job criteria and job descriptions with your team, and make sure your whole team is on the same page and understanding what their responsibilities are and what they can do to help drive the profit in the business by meeting their KPIs. So that could be about getting more leads, or excuse me, or converting more leads. Daniel also talked about making sure that we eliminate or reduce rework where possible. Items like that are really important to make sure that we are continuing to do the best for our business to increase a profit, or at least maintain as much profit and cash flow as we can in these times. Talking about focus, I think it's really important at this stage. With everything going on, it's really easy to lose focus and start playing, I guess, a bit of a blame game about what's going on around in the world today, and what effect that's having on all our businesses and our working life. Let's focus on, I think we need to focus on what we can control and what we can do, and what and so in your case, what you can do for your business, and what you can control, those items, those factors. Obviously, it's difficult at times at the moment, and we're going to slip in and out of, having a look at what's going on in the world and what we can do. But the more we can focus on what we do, the better off, or what you do, the better off you'll be, and the better off your business will be. So, now is a really important time to not be procrastinating. As the slide says there, procrastination makes the easy things hard and hard things harder. It's time to get on with the job as much as possible. Set these plans and set these budgets in process, and start reviewing your business terms and doing the best you can to get through these tough times. Your next steps. So really, I think it's really important now, more now than ever, to set aside time to work on your business, and to set the budget, set the goals, and review progress against those goals, and reviewing regularly. If you are experiencing a downturn in income and sales, then it's really important to just keep monitoring this, keep monitoring your cash flow, and what do you need to do to make sure that your business is here to come out the other side and really attack things and grow once we come out the other side of this. Got here there, nurturing your customers, and I think that's really important. We're speaking with some businesses who have been completely shut down, but maintaining contact with your clients and your customers, whether by Facebook or Instagram or other social media, or emails or texting, however you do it, just to touch base, to make sure that when we are on the other side and the lockdown is then relieved, that we've still got that, maintain that customer base, and our regular customers will come back and start purchasing from us. Again, understand and monitor your KPIs, and linking those KPIs with your team members. That's really important, to stay focused on what your KPIs are. If you don't have KPIs in place, really important time to start building on that now, and so that everyone in your team and yourself as business owners can be aware of what are the important factors that are going to drive the profit in my business. Once again, I've sort of been going on about it again, but I'll say it again because it's really important. Put your budgets and forecasts in place now, and review regularly. Particularly, everyone should be doing this anyway at all times, but particularly in times if you're experiencing a downturn, this is really important. How can we help you? As discussed, we can help you with cash flow forecasting. We do 3-way cash flow forecasts. So where we look at your profit and loss, your cash flow, and your balance sheet. That can be looking at, we generally do that over a year, but we can also have a particular focus on 3 months at a time if that's what's needed at the moment. Cash flow management coaching, where we can meet with you perhaps after the cash flow has been done 3 months down the track, to have a discussion, how are we going, and to continue to monitor that. We can also help with business planning. For clients, existing clients and potentially new clients out there, we can do complimentary meetings there to have a discussion, to discuss your situation, to see how we can help further. If you'd like to discuss more on a one-to-one basis with either myself, Shannon, or Daniel, we can also do that as well. Actions and projects. So let's get started now. As we talked about, let's make sure we start working from today, or I'm probably sure you all have been already, but make sure we're writing down 3 actions from today that you're going to do to add value to your business. A problem, very important for these times. A problem is an opportunity to create a project. So let's again focus on what we can do and what we can control to help our businesses through this current times. And I'll throw over to Shannon to see if there's any questions.
On. Yep, I'm unmuted. Thanks very much, Paul and Daniel. Thank you for that. I don't have any questions at this stage. Has anyone got any questions that they would like to ask at all during this time? Do we have any questions? Happy to answer any questions.
Does that mean we covered it so well that no one's has got a question?
That must be the case. I think your screen stopped sharing, by the way, as well, or was that Daniel's?
Did it? Sorry. Is that up there now?
No, I don't think so. No, well, that's okay. Yeah, just to go on then, I guess. Oh, there you go. You're back again. Yeah, questions. Right. Now we do have, if there's no questions, and it must be because you've covered it so well, so that's great. Just to let you know some upcoming webinars that we have coming up. We are using this time also to help educate our clients and others in the community as much as possible. And to try and help with, well, we've got the JobKeeper went through Parliament yesterday. Now there's still a lot of noise around that, and whilst it has gone through Parliament, the devil is always in the detail, and I guess what we're waiting on at this point is the ATO view back on it, on how they're going to deal with the potential reduction in income. How is that going to be monitored? So what we've scheduled for next Thursday, 9:30 in the morning, also 7 at night for those of you who've got things during the day. We will go through the JobKeeper subsidy in detail. We'll also be providing you with a checklist, so you can go through and make sure that you, if you are eligible, that you've got the requirements there satisfied, because you need to be an eligible employer and the employees need to be eligible. And this is critical. You don't want a situation where you start paying an employee under the JobKeeper to find out that the employee didn't qualify or you didn't qualify and you don't get the subsidy because you can't get the money back off the employee. So we'll be going through that. If we can get more clarity on it from the tax office, and the reason we say that, many of you would have seen with the Cashflow boost, it came out and then all of a sudden things changed over that following week based on the way the ATO, because the ATO, Treasury announced the laws and make the laws, and then the ATO is the one that basically administers them. So we've got to wait a few days. I want to see what the ATO is going to come out with from an administration perspective and discretion that they may be using and how they're going to apply it. If we get that earlier, we can always bring some of these forward, but we're putting it for Thursday next week on the basis that most likely we'll get that information by Tuesday night, potentially Wednesday. So if you want to sign up, that email will be going out to you in the next probably hour or so to sign up for those webinars. Also going to do one next Friday on core values. I mean, now you've probably seen how you're working as a team and those that have really stepped up in these challenging times, and maybe those aren't. So it's a really good time to have a look at the core values of your business. A week later, we're going to have Erin. Many of you would have dealt with Erin from your Xero queries, and Erin's going to go through, we've got Xero payroll. So we've got Daniel's going to go through Xero payroll. I think the week after that, we're going to have Erin going through Xero tips and traps. So thanks very much, Daniel and Paul. I hope you all got a lot out of that. We didn't have any questions, so that must be a good thing. And we hope we can speak to you all soon on webinars. And if you've got any questions, just let us know. Go to our website. We are constantly updating a lot of the information. We know that, you know, it is a challenging time for everyone. Obviously, when we provide assistance, we obviously also have to charge for our time, etc. So what we're trying to do to help businesses during this time is really give you a lot of free resources and information there, so you can hopefully do a lot of the DIY, so you can get straight to, you know, obtaining that cash flow from the government and getting that benefit. So thanks very much for joining, and hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.